Here's some things you should be prepared for if you plan to hike the Cranberry Lake 50. So many people fail to finish the Cranberry Lake 50 that I've heard some locals start to call it the Cranberry Lake 25. The name Cranberry Lake 50 can be a little deceiving. It's actually more than 50. It's closer to 51 miles. And then by the time you figure walking off the trail into a campsite, setting up your camp, getting your dinner, putting your food away for the night, going to the privy, getting your food out in the morning, making breakfast, breaking down camp, and then adding in any side trips that you may take to someplace like Cat Mountain Overlook or High Falls, you could be doing well over 50 miles. The name Cranberry Lake 50 is also deceptive because you spend very little time looking at the lake. There are a few short trail segments where you can see the lake, and there are a few campsites on the lake, but the vast majority of the trail is a walk through the woods well away from the lake where you won't see it. Most of the campsites are on water, but they're on ponds or the Oswegatchie River. Cranberry Lake 50 isn't a single trail all the way around the lake. It's made up of a number of trail segments, and there are a lot of intersections with connecting trails, so it is possible to get lost hiking the Cranberry Lake 50. Are there maps that are particularly good for the Cranberry Lake 50 hiker? Start with, there's the Cranberry Lake 50 Hikers Map. It's a pocket-sized map by 5 Ponds Partners. It's waterproof and tear-resistant. It does fit in your pocket. It weighs 23 grams. It's at a 1 to 50,000 scale, or 1 centimeter equals half a kilometer. 1 inch equals about 8/10 of a mile. It shows the campsites, it shows the trail names, it shows the distances of trail segments. The elevation is given in feet and 50-foot contours. It shows pretty much just the area covered by the Cranberry Lake 50 route. Another good map for the Cranberry Lake 50 hiker is the Adirondack Paddlers map for the Whitney Wilderness area. Now this also includes Lake Lila, Bog River Flow, Lowe's Lake, the Cranberry Lake area, and the Oswegatchie River area, along with the 5 Ponds Wilderness. It's a 1 to 50,000 map, and it weighs 40 grams, so a little less than twice as much. Contours are shown in 20-meter increments, and all elevations are shown in meters. Campsites are marked. The trail names are shown, but the trail distances are not marked. One nice thing about this map is that it shows the contact information for the local forest rangers. The Adirondack Paddlers map for the northern area of the Adirondacks is also a good map. The entire route of the Cranberry Lake 50 is highlighted. It's very similar to the Whitney Wilderness map. It just shows a much larger area. Again, it's a 1 to 50,000. This one weighs 153 grams, so this is a hefty map, but it shows a large area, and if you were only going to buy one map, this might be the one to get. Unfortunately, trail distances are not shown. In addition to showing the contact information for the local rangers, this map also has the number for DEC emergency dispatch. These other maps that don't have that on there, I just had a thought, which is you should take a Sharpie and write that number right on the map. One point that might confuse people along the Brandy Brook Trail, even with a map, if you look at the map, it appears as though all 4 campsites are on the trail, but only campsites 8 and 10 are accessible from the trail, and there's no spur trail leading down to campsites 7 or 9, and you can't even see them from the trail. I had some friends who were hiking the Cranberry Lake 50 years ago, and they were expecting to see those 4 campsites along the Brandy Brook Trail on Brandy Brook Flow, and because there were only 2 sites that you access from the trail, they ended up walking beyond all 4 sites and not realizing where they were and getting very confused. A lot of people may already have a National Geographic Trails Illustrated map made in conjunction with ADK. This is a good general purpose map. It does not specifically show the route of the Cranberry Lake 50. Now all the trails are on here, but the route is not highlighted. Trail distances are shown. Campsite locations other than lean-to locations are not shown. This is a 1 to 75,000 map. It's 93 grams. You don't need to do the entire route in one outing. You can break the 50 miles up into multiple trips and still qualify as having completed the challenge. Something that can catch people off guard is being cold or even suffering from hypothermia. They don't prepare for it because they're going to be hiking in the summer and they think, well, it's going to be hot. I have to prepare for warm temperatures. The Cranberry Lake 50 is located in the Adirondack Mountains. so in the mountains, and north. So those temperatures at night, particularly, never really get warm. You don't have too many sweltering nights here, but they do get cool. The temperatures in June can still get down into the 30s Fahrenheit, the low single digits in Celsius. In July, the 50s are common at night, the 40s are possible. July 19th last year was 43 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 6 degrees Celsius. July 28th, it was 47 degrees Fahrenheit, or 8 degrees Celsius. And then in August, you're back into the 40s at 50s at night, being fairly common. September, again, that temperature continues to drop then. In addition to the possibility of cool temperatures, both fairly cool daytime highs and cold nightly lows, you need to be prepared for temperature swings. Over the course of a week, high temperatures could vary between the 60s and the 80s. And over the course of any given day, you could have high temperatures in the 80s, but low temperatures in the 40s. A 40-degree temperature swing over the course of a 24-hour period is fairly common. I think the coldest I've ever been on a camping trip was during the summer. A group of us went to Jasper in Alberta, up in the Canadian Rockies, and I thought I had packed and prepared appropriately, but my sleeping bag was not up to the task, and I was cold. I was colder there in the summer than I'd have ever been here winter camping. And that's just down to matching the gear with the conditions. Black flies come out at the first warm-up of spring. You can find them around all summer, but they're really most intense from that mid-April to the end of June window. They overlap with the outbreak of mosquitoes, which happens a little bit later than black flies, I think. But the mosquitoes will hang around all summer long, and anytime it gets wet, they will become more intense. When you get into the hotter months, deer flies start to swarm, and they'll follow you. They can be an incredible nuisance. There are also little flies, people call them no-see-ums or sand flies or biting midges. They can be kind of a nuisance. Red squirrels, chipmunks, and deer mice present a more persistent threat than bears. They will get into your food at any opportunity. They will chew through anything that smells like it might have been food, might have had food in it. So you need to be careful about what you do with your pack. Cranberry Lake 50, especially at its southern portion, is a very wet trail. Not just muddy, it can be inundated. So you need to make provisions for bringing water shoes or having some sort of covering for your boots, or just walking with wet boots, because there really isn't a way to avoid walking through water at some point. A section of the trail follows State Highway 3, the main east-west corridor leading from the west side of the Adirondacks to the high peaks, Tupper Lake, Saranac Lake, Lake Placid. So not only are you walking on pavement, it's busy pavement. If you're swimming in the waters up here, these are natural waters. You could pick up a leech. It is possible. I've been swimming here for many years and haven't, but I know people who have. Water stays cool up here. I was fishing up here several years ago. It was a Memorial Day weekend and it was hot out. It was really hot. I was sweating, sun was beating down. I was taking my little boat down along the shore, and there were some women laying out on a dock. And one of them got up and jumped off the end of the dock into the water, and I think you probably could have heard her scream all the way into Star Lake, and she shot out of that water like a rocket. I don't think she touched the ladder at the end of the dock. She just levitated out of the cold water and back onto the dock and wrapped herself up in a towel. If you're a hammock camper, not all campsites are hammock camping friendly. Some do not have trees around the campsite proper, and at the periphery of the campsite they have heavy underbrush or rocks or other impediments. It would make it difficult for you to hang your hammock, or the trees are just packed too tightly. Don't be surprised if you hear jets flying overhead for quite a while. Portions of the trail are under a military training route. Cranberry Lake 50 has gotten very popular, so there are going to be a lot of people around. You can expect that you might have people coming in and sharing campsites with you. If people can't see if you're in a campsite, they'll come off the trail, look in it to see if it's occupied. They may move on or they may not. When you get into later summer and early fall, which has become a popular time to hike the Cranberry Lake 50, the days are starting to get much shorter. So in addition to understanding how far you can walk in a day, you need to understand how many hours you can walk in a day and decide if you're going to be setting up and taking down and cooking in the dark, if you're going to be walking in the dark, and how many miles you can put in during those daylight hours. The Cranberry Lake 50 route is not level. There's a lot of elevation gain and loss over the course of the trail. I think it's over 3,500 feet when you total it all up. Don't expect grand views and an exciting time. A lot of people hike just to reach a destination. Cranberry Lake 50 is the destination. Walking in the woods is the reason to go.